Hey man, listen, I love you guys. You know I got soul. Y'all keeping that R&B alive and keeping it in front of the masses, man. I appreciate everything you guys are doing, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for taking some time to speak with us again, man. It's always a pleasure.
Oh man, pleasure's mine, man. I always enjoy you guys' stuff. Watch it all, read it all the time.
Appreciate that, man. We got some stuff to catch up on since it's been a few years. I'm gonna drop some
Yeah.
songs on you just to get some information on that came out a few years back. But first off, let's start talking about the label deal you have with SRG ILS to bring your label over there. I know you
Yeah.
have some things planned for this year. Obviously, have the new single out with your wife on her solo project. So talk about some of the things we can expect this year.
Well, there's quite a bit going on. You'll see Erica Campbell has a new single out now. You see that called Positive, but
Yep.
also we'll drop another one right before her album drops in September, somewhere around the first week of September. Maybe even if I can finish it, it'll be the last week of August even.
Wow.
Um, and so she's coming, but also we have the Walls Group out of Houston. They're coming with another single May 20 something. Okay. And they're going to drop an album in July. We also have Joy Star, my baby sister. She has a
Yeah.
single out right now called Love Story. That's an amazing song. She's getting ready to go on tour, starting with Essence Fest, and we should be all over the place. Then there's a lady from Oakland. Her name is Lena Bird Miles. You've been seeing her all over. She sung, at DMX's funeral, and she just sung at the Oscars a couple weeks ago, and then we just did a My Block segment at the Trumpet Awards this past weekend, which will air sometime in May. So Lena's coming out with a new single May 6th called Wow, WOW. It's an acronym for Walk on Water.
Mhm.
And so yeah, we've been quite busy.
Listen, I got to give you some serious props, man, because obviously we've been following you for a long time and supporting you, man, out your production, songwriting. So when I heard
Thank you.
this music you did with this artist, Sidivi, over the past few years,
Oh
I was
yeah.
kind of blown away because it's like, I wasn't really familiar with her, but then when I heard you were involved, it's like instantly I got to check it out. Man, it's so dope. But what it did was it reminded me of how amazing of a talented producer you are because it's like it's so musical. Like whatever you create for an artist, man, it doesn't let us down. And I love how you're always able to come through. I just got to give you props because you've been doing it for so long and the quality remains
Oh,
high. So shout out to you, man,
thank you,
and
man. I
thank you for always
appreciate
giving
that.
us that.
I
I mean,
appreciate that.
I
Uh,
guess speak about what it's taken to like keep up that motivation to keep performing at a high level and producing at such a high level.
well, burnout is real. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter, how good you are, and how much success you've had at a certain point. If you're not careful, you will burn out. And what I've done is I've watched some of the greatest producers, on the planet, studied their momentum and their movements, like a Quincy or my other
yeah,
favorite, Arif Mardin, and watch these guys really not do everything. Just wait
yeah,
for the right thing, and that way you kind of control the burnout factor. Because
yeah,
I have a lot of buddies who do what I do at even higher levels than me, but they go so hard, and after a while, it's just they tap out. I'm burned out, and that's it, and there's no more. And so, what I kind of do is I'll go on little runs and make a lot of music, and then I'll sit back and learn. There's new technology to learn. This is something that we will, as much as we accomplish, we will never master.
yeah,
It's never going to be a point where I say I've mastered this. I'm always going to learn something. Like you know, I have a buddy of mine who's literally next door, right next door to me. He's another master producer. His name is DJ Khalil,
mm,
and there's a lot of Dr. Dre, Eminem. So I go over next door. We decided like one night we are going to collab. We've never collabed before. We've been neighbors for 17 years.
Yeah.
He's used my studio, and we've been on the same projects, but never like. He said, "Man, bring your guitars over here. Let's do something." And he pulls up Ableton. I work on Ableton as well, and he's showing me things I've never seen before. So now I go like, you know what? Now I need to take another couple months, sit back and learn something else. That's what it is for me. I think that's
Yeah.
why I come back and I'm able to still, do the things we do because I never stop learning.
Right.
Never stop learning.
And it does make sense what you just explained to me because I was looking at your discography right before I did this interview. I was just looking back over the work you've done, and there are gaps. There are not like hundreds and hundreds of songs per year. It's like you do seem to pick and choose certain projects. Like you
Yes.
said, you don't get burnt out. So I could definitely see that when looking at your discography.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just times when I feel it. Like I go, yeah, I
Yeah,
feel super creative and I'm going in. Let's go hard.
yeah,
And I never when I take a step back, I'm still friends, and with the business. You know what I'm saying? I
yeah,
still hang out. My relationships with my artist friends and producers and labels. Just because I'm not actively working, that doesn't mean these are not my friends anymore.
yeah,
So I'm still around, and when I'm ready to do something, I call them up, say, "Hey, I got something I want to do. Let's do this." And
yeah.
then we go, we do it, and then I go back in my hole, crawl, and sit down again. You know what I mean? I think I'd rather them miss me than be tired of me.
Right. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna be jumping all over the place because I've been waiting to interview you and ask you about some songs you did years ago. But this song, I got to bring this one up because this one, all right, you did this song like 5, 6 years ago, I think. It's actually stuck with me since. Like it's just like so unique, and that is Musiq Soulchild's "I Do," the song "I Do."
Oh,
Now, you did the whole album, right? Life on Earth,
yeah.
but this song, like when it came out, like the song structure, first of all, is so unique. Like, there's like it starts with like a pre-chorus or something, and there's like multiple bridges. It's like such a unique song structure. I always wonder, like, why don't other artists and producers try something different like that? But I don't know. That song, it just is one that sticks with you. It seems simplistic, but it's not at all. I mean, talk about that one a bit.
That was a. I remember that song being in my laptop as a file, and it was called 5 a.m. music. 5 a.m. music, right?
Mm,
I came home from a session one night, and I have a little setup. I don't have a home studio really in my home because I never wanted to bring my work home. So all I have is like an upright piano, and I have a laptop, right?
yeah.
So I pull out the laptop and I started, fooling around. So at 5 in the morning, I come up with this thing, you know. And so I said, "Oh, this would be good for music." And music, when I have an idea for him, I send it to him right away.
Yeah.
It seems like he's never sleep. Like so, I sent it to him, and he hit me like right back. It's like, "Yo, I love this." And I sent it to him with a note saying, "I do, I do." I don't know what we're gonna say with this. I want to say,
Yeah,
"I
yeah.
do, I do." He was like, "Say less." He got the idea. He pinned it. I believe on that song when and I think he was not here. He was somewhere else. He came to L.A. I think on that song, Ursula Yanti finished writing that with him as well. I think because she wrote a lot of songs on that album with us.
Mm,
Um, and so we got together, and I mean, with Soul Child, man, it's like his mind. I don't know where he gets this stuff from. His mind is just crazy, right? He really is one of the most creative artists I've ever worked with, in terms of arranging and like, why don't we try this? And it's always something that most of the time I've never done. Not that I can't do it, I just never thought of it.
yeah.
Think of like, let's try this, let's try that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I can't take all the credit, man. Music is just a really creative guy, and sometimes I'm following his creative lead on a lot of that stuff.
Right.
Uh, and because I this is what I always say: everybody in their mind, when they think about their music, it sounds amazing in their head. It's like amazing, but getting what's in your head to come out of the speakers. That's the trick.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
with some artists, I do a better job, or I have a better chemistry at taking what they're thinking, and I'm making that come out the speakers. With music, I think we had a good run,
Yeah.
and a good chemistry at doing that because he always had these amazing ideas. He could just tell it to me. I'm like, I see it, I see the
Right.
sounds. Here we go,
Right.
and next thing you know, we're hearing what he was thinking.
That's awesome. Love
Yeah.
that one. Thanks for sharing the story. That one's timeless right there. That album as well is really dope. So nice work there.
Thank you, man.
Got to ask you about another couple songs. So a couple years after that, you worked on LaToya Luckett's album, right? And now you had
Yeah.
these two songs you did, and they're back to back on the album, "In the Name" and "My Love" back to back, right? So, oh my goodness, man, those just like first of all they flow perfectly into one another, and those songs are still on repeat for me as well, man. Those are so fresh. Love those two. Do you remember creating those?
I remember creating in the name. It's weird. My love, I don't remember. I
Okay,
don't. I was doing so much during that time. If you played it, I go like, oh, okay. I can't remember right now what
gotcha.
the song is about, the what it sounds like, but in the name, I definitely remember that because I had just reconnected with a sound that I love. There's this sound.
Mhm.
It's an old Roland keyboard sound, right? That Keith Crouch used back in the '90s on a Winans album.
Yep.
It was a song he did called "Count It All Joy," uh, and the sound was called "Flying Waltz." It was like this little chiri, 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 chiri. As a matter of fact, Puff used it again on "I Need a Girl" remix.
Mm. Yep.
Him and Mario Winans did, right? That it became famous because of that. But I know Mario Winans got the idea to use that from that because it was his father's album that
Yeah.
Keith produced. So anyway, the problem with that sound was that you could never lock it to a tempo. It was in a box by itself, and you can never
Right.
put the tempo down. I came up with this thing that allowed me to lock the tempo in. I never forget it when I did it. LaToya Luckett just happened to be there while I discovered this, you know. And so we wrote me and Adonis Shropshire.
Yep.
We wrote that, and it was like it happened so fast. I was so excited about that sound that I did it really, really quickly. And then after that, I did maybe like 70 songs with that sound
Wow.
that you never heard, but that's the one that came out.
Love it. And you know what's an awesome thing about, and this is an underrated technique, and you did the same thing on Sidibe's song "Ready Enough," where you drop, and I'm pretty sure this is your vocals, but you drop kind of layer your vocals in the
Oh yeah,
background. Yeah,
yeah,
that actually makes a big difference for me when
yeah.
listening to a song like that. That makes it a more fuller sound. Is that like an intentional thing on your part?
Yeah, that's a thing I got from listening to when I was a kid, listening to Babyface's productions.
Mm,
Like when he was producing another artist, you can hear his voice back there. It was like a signature thing.
yeah,
And like that sounds like Faces, but it made especially with female artists, made it a little fuller because I'm a man, but I have this kind of thing in my voice where I can kind of blend with the female pretty good, but not it won't sound like a big, overwhelming
yeah,
man presence on the record. So I know how to kind of like dial it back, but it makes it kind of, puts this little warm blanket on the vocal.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
really appreciate when you do that. So
Oh man, I appreciate that.
let me ask you about this is something we've been talking about on our Instagram lately. We just actually posted something and then like people were just debating it like crazy. But when you did Mario on his debut, when you did Just a Friend,
Yeah.
right? And then people like for the first time were figuring out that Usher actually cut that record first
First, yeah.
and it didn't come out. But what is the story behind that?
So we wrote that record. I can't remember. I think I want to say like it was summertime. We wrote the record, and my publisher, Big John Platt, he sent it to L.A. L.A. loved it. KP Kawan Prather heard it. He loved it for Usher. So we go to Atlanta. We cut the record. It was crazy because I had known Usher for years, but we had just never worked together. And I got to see his work ethic up close. It was craziest thing. He woke up at 5 in the morning,
Oh, jeez.
and he was learning to break dance at the time. So he went and worked out with the break dance coach. Then he went to regular dance rehearsal. Then he went
Oh,
to the gym and worked out, and then went to another dance rehearsal. And by the time I showed up at his house where the studio was, a lady walked outside as I pulled up and said, "Hey, I'm Usher's vocal coach, and I just want you to know he's working with this octave to that octave." She like knew the ranges, so you have about this much space to work with. I'm like, okay. They had been there working out, and so I walked in the studio. Usher is sitting in the booth on the microphone already, and the mic's on.
yeah.
He's like, "Hell, what's up, Warren? I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's go." I'm like,
Ah,
okay. So we knocked it out. We were in that studio maybe 6 hours, cut it. Then I find out maybe few months later that Usher is shelving that album.
yeah.
Something leaked. I think a song called "Pop Your Collar" or something like that leaked,
Yes. Yep.
and something else leaked. So he says, "You know what? I'm going to swap that album and get rid of all these songs." So I hadn't had a conversation with him, but when I heard that was happening, I knew we hadn't solidified or
Right.
finished even our deal with that song. So I hadn't signed any paperwork or anything. So I'm in a meeting with Clive Davis, him and his whole staff. I was doing a meeting there. We had a signing day. My sister Joy Star was signing to J Records at the time.
Nice.
So we stayed over for his staff meeting. He said, "I want you to stay and watch as we do our staff meeting. This is when the entire company meets and we go over records." So I'm in the back and he's playing records. He plays a record I did for Luther called "Take You Out Tonight."
Yep.
Talking to the radio team about that. Boom, boom, boom. Then he plays this record called "Tamika" by a young kid named Mario.
I remember. Yep.
That was going on a soundtrack or something. And I played the record. The meeting's over and I walk up to Clive and said, "Listen, that kid Mario, he's amazing." I said, "But I think I got a record for him that, like, I know slight to whoever did this Tamika record, but that's great, but he needs this song."
yeah.
I said, "I have it on a DAT tape at my hotel. I'm gonna run and go get it and come back." I ran and got to the hotel, got the DAT tape. Then I all of a sudden remembered that Clive does not like to hear records without lyrics. So I
Mm,
took the time and I went downstairs and had somebody in the hotel type it up for me. Then I go back, play. I mean, the first 30 seconds, he said, "That's it. I love it. I love it." And then he stopped it at about 2 minutes and 20 seconds and says, "Can you add something right here? Like another part, like a breakdown or a vamp or something, then go back to the hook." I said, "Okay, I got you." Did that, brought Mario in. We cut the record. I mean, it was a perfect fit.
yeah.
And as we were getting ready to drop and release that album, I Clive came to LA and I had me come see him at his hotel. So I called up at the lobby. I said, "Hey, I'm here." He says, "Oh, come on up." He starts laughing. He says, "Now, when you get here, you'll see a friend coming out." I said, "Okay." So I go upstairs and Usher's walking out the room out of his hotel. I was like, "Oh, what's up?" You know what I'm saying? What up? And he
Yeah.
leaves. I said, "Yo, what's Usher doing here?" He says, "He came to tell us that he's going to use the Just a Friend record." He's gonna put it on. We can't have it because it's gonna go on his overseas album. I said, "Nah, we're not gonna take it from the little man. Usher
yeah.
has plenty of hits. This is Mario's shot. So let's leave it where it is." And that's how
Wow.
that happened.
That's kind of an epic story. I
Yeah,
didn't realize that Usher wanted it back. I mean,
yeah.
but honestly, do you think it would have? I mean, well, there's two parts. Would Usher have even released it as a single? And second part, do you think it really would have worked? I mean, because it's hard to look back and think like, would that have worked for Usher 20 years ago? But do you think it would have worked as well as it did for Mario?
Maybe if they left the version for that version of that song with Biz Markie rapping on it,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and that version never came out, but that version what that Usher did with that was really fly. It was a dope record. But I think in terms of age, it worked better for Mario because it seemed more like of a younger kid song, and Usher was moving into he was a man at that time, so
yeah,
I think it was a little young for Usher anyway.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that, though. That's interesting to hear
Oh
about.
yeah.
Let me ask you another thing. So you were a part of a song I consider probably one of the biggest R&B songs over the past decade, and especially one of the most important because R&B obviously has gone in so many directions since. The popularity has gone in different directions. The sound has changed. But
Mhm.
when Tyrese came out with Shame, right,
Mm.
a while back, and it went #1, and he was taking such a stand for R&B, saying it was at a crossroads and we need to step it up. And obviously we know where it's at now. But what was it like looking back for you, being a part of that moment and being a part of a song that became so big for R&B?
It's funny. Um, I was I think I came home on a Sunday and I got all these messages on Twitter saying, Warren, Tyrese is looking for you. And then even tweets from Tyrese saying, does anybody have Warryn Campbell's number? And I'm going, now me and Tyrese are boys. We go way back. We were born in the same hospital,
Wow.
I'm going, Tyrese for sure has my number. Like he called me. But at that point, there's something in the iPhone. Sometimes you can lose a contact
Yeah.
and you won't find it until that person calls you. So I picked up the phone. I called him. And he picked up the phone and said, Warren. I said, well, if you know it's me, that means you got my number. He's like, I don't know what happened. I couldn't find it in my phone. He said, there's a song that you did on DJ Rogers Jr. that he let me hear. I said, yeah, what song is that? We did a few songs that never came out. He was signed to Motown, and when Kedar left Motown and Motown, did this whole drop thing, DJ left and took his music with him. So I said, what song is it? He says it's a song called Shame. I said, oh. I said, man, you sure DJ played you that song? He said, no, he played it for me. I said, because that's like that's his signature song.
Wow.
That's going to be his signature song. And a single for him. I said, let me talk to him. Now, mind you, when Tyrese heard the song, this is 9 years after we recorded it.
Oh, wow.
So what you hear Tyrese doing on that song, he basically listened to what DJ did and did it verbatim, just how DJ did it, perfect vocal. But
Yeah.
musically, I literally did nothing else. I didn't add
Yeah.
anything. We
Wow.
took the track that I created, 9 years before, and DJ and Tyrese sung over that. Even the background vocals that I did, I think he added Jennifer Hudson on top of it, but all that stuff is still there.
Yeah.
And Tyrese had the good idea to add Wah Watson on the guitar, which was
Yeah.
he's a legend. He passed away, and that's probably one of the records he did of note. The last things he did,
Yeah.
before he passed away. So that was huge, and Tyrese nailed it. The
Yeah.
video, he made a whole movie out of it. And if you look at it, there's some parts in there where the original guy, DJ Rogers, he's in the video as well.
Wow.
So, but it was one of those things where it's a forgotten song that was on my hard drive, just sitting there, and which I have thousands of these types of songs,
Yeah.
songs sitting on my hard drive, and you know who knew? Who
Yeah.
it's weird how that works sometimes. People remember songs you did. Like it's funny because right after that, I get a call from Jill Scott saying, "Oh, this song we recorded 3 years ago. I want to put it on this album." I like the way we don't have to remix it or nothing. I just like it the way it is. I'm gonna put it out just like that. I'm like, okay. And so I literally didn't have to do anything but give him the files,
Yeah.
and and that was that. I mean, I'm playing every instrument except for Wawa Watson's guitar. I'm playing
Right.
drums, bass, guitar, keys, stuff like that. So
Wow. It's awesome.
I'm still not satisfied with it because I want live strings on that song, but I guess it's too late. Still not satisfied.
I love hearing live strings on music. We don't hear that too much anymore.
Oh man, listen, when you hear some of the stuff I got coming, I mentioned Lena Bird Miles from Oakland. Her album's coming in May. Is it coming in May? Oh, maybe July actually. But a single's coming in May. Every song pretty much has live strings, live horns. I'm very much into bringing that element back. The Erica song Positive, live horns on there. I'm just like, you know what? Let's start, Joy Star's song Let's Make a Deal. I mean, Love Story. Those are live strings. That's a live orchestra. Live strings, live horns, timpanis. That is the Berlin Symphony
Wow.
Orchestra playing behind her.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
So,
love it, man.
I bring all that back.
That's what I'm missing the most, man. Live instrumentation, man. Like I said, we don't hear it a lot, but thank you for keeping that a part of your music, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is art, man. I think
Yeah,
art, after should be looked at as things that appreciate, like the art we put on our wall, like
yeah,
the Andy Warhols or the
yeah.
Basquiat's, things like this music that we do. Uh, we take as much time as an artist to paint that magical piece. But
Right.
what we put into this art, man, we got to keep the bar up and make it expensive.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. All right, for the last part of this interview, I just got a couple of we call these the rapid fire questions. So it's kind of putting you on the
Okay.
spot. Nothing wild, but kind of just, say what comes to mind first when it comes to these questions. Like for example, what are your top three songs you produced in your opinion? Like what comes to mind when you think of what are the best songs you personally produced? Like that's the first one.
Top three favorite songs. One's going to be "We Major" by Kanye West.
Wow. Wow.
It's one of my favorite. Two, "He Is" by Brandy,
Wow.
and the third is definitely going to have to be "Shackles" with Mary
Yeah.
Lyric. That's one of my favorite. I mean, it's so many, but those are so many. Not that there's like one song's better than the other, just the memories connected to those. You
Dope.
know, watching Nas on We Major sit there and write
Yeah.
his rap, and then inside the rap he says, "Ask the man to my right, should I freestyle or write?" He's talking about me.
Yeah.
I'm
That's pretty dope.
just standing there watching him, like, because we didn't like he didn't even know that I'm the one that did the beat. I didn't
Yeah,
introduce
yeah.
myself as a producer. I just said, "Hey man, I'm Warren." And I'm just
Yeah.
standing there. So he doesn't know like my name. He's like, "My man to my right."
Wow. I'm gonna think of that now when I hear the song next time. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let me ask you only because we have so many Brandy fans that follow us. Why does that he is mean so much to you?
One, it was a 4 bar chord change that was in my head for a very long time. And I just kept hearing it, and I would sit down and play it over and over again for like 3 or 4 years. I'd always sit down and play those chords.
Wow.
Then we started working with Brandy. We did all these records. Um, and one day I said, you know what, let me try this. Nobody was there in the studio, so I put the thing together. They had an 8 bar section with just the chords, some drums. I put the bass in, and da da da. I was like, oh, this is amazing. I just love the way it sounded. So I turned it up real loud there. We were working at the record plant in Hollywood, and it's blasting all through the hallways. And I had it on loop for literally like 2 hours, just kind of walking around the studio. And Harold Lilly shows up to the studio and hears it, and I'm upstairs doing something. I'm upstairs, like just I don't forget what I was doing. I come back downstairs, and he's written the whole song. So that
Wow.
memory connected to, like, he said, this song is "He Is." He sings me. I'm like, oh my god. And we go back upstairs, and we're talking, and then I'm like, we're hanging out, whatever. And I go back downstairs. I'm gonna go down there and turn it down because like it's been playing for 2 hours. When I go downstairs, Deborah Cox is standing in the studio. I forgot I had a meeting with Deborah, and she's sitting here listening, going, "I love it, I love it. Oh my God, it's beautiful. I can't wait to record it." I'm going, "Oh no, Deborah, this is not. This is for." And I don't even think I told her it was for Brandy. I just told her it was for somebody else. She was like, "So no, are you serious?" I was like, "No, it was just playing on loop. Sorry."
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like, I love those. When you think about it now, it sounds like little mini movies to me. To have those
Yeah.
play out. And I love the song, but I love the story attached to the song. That's why it's one of my favorite.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Next question. Of the singles you've produced, the ones that came out as singles, what comes to mind as the hardest one that was to create? Like maybe you mentioned some of these songs took years of work into them, but what is maybe one that comes to mind that was the hardest to put together?
Uh, I'm going to say "How Deep Is Your Love" by Dru Hill. I
Mm,
think it came out in 98, 99.
yep.
on the Rush Hour soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
So it was crazy how that happened. We were at a studio called Larrabee West. It's not there anymore. Now there's just Larrabee North in North Hollywood, but there was one in West Hollywood. And we were there. There's two studios there. We had both booked out. I was in one room, and the producer Dutch, Rick Kuzan, Dutch, he was in the other room, working with Nokia from Dru Hill.
Yeah.
I was in the room working with Woody from Dru Hill on a song called Angel. I was in there cutting a cello player
Oh,
on the song's a ballad. And our manager calls. Me and Dutch had the same manager as Dru Hill. We all had the same manager. He says, "Yo, we got this um, opportunity. Brett Ratner is doing this movie with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker called Rush Hour. They need a song, but they need it now. Like they need a song." I said, "Okay." So I had a cassette with me of these chords. It was like a and I had these chords that I had just put on a cassette because I was going to use them later for something, or maybe I was going to sample it. I don't know what I was going to do. And so I pulled those chords up and started playing them, and for Dutch and Nokia. It was like, oh, we like that. Boom. So we put that in. Dutch and Nokia started working on the drum beat, the percussions and stuff. I go next door and grab the cello player. It was like hard to put together. So I put the cello
yeah.
player on there. Okay, what are we gonna talk about? Let's start coming up with ideas. Cisco goes in the studio and freestyles that whole verse, which was like, oh my God. Now we're gonna say, okay, we want a rapper on it. They got Redman.
Yeah.
He has to fly out from wherever he's from, New York, New Jersey, whatever, flies to LA, does the record. But Kevin Liles is there, and he wants to make sure that me and Dutch have shout outs on the record. So he goes and grabs Redman out the car. So I need you to come back and shout out these guys that you don't even know, but shout them out. Goo, we got it. We got the song done. We added the stuff to it, mixed it. Boom, it's great. Let's go shoot the video in Hong Kong. Redman can't leave the country for whatever reason. He's not allowed to leave the country.
Yeah.
So I wasn't originally supposed to go to Hong Kong because they was going to shoot a video. They called me and said, we need you to come to Hong Kong and put a bridge on this song because there's no,
Yeah.
Redman. So they fly me to Hong Kong. I'm there. I think we're there for a whole week. And when I get there, there's nothing there. There's no instruments. No, they had to go find like all the gear. It was a crazy thing to put together. We finally got all the gear together in the studio. The language barrier between the us and the engineers was
Yeah.
very difficult to put together, to say
Wow.
the least. So that the fact that it went number one
Yeah.
was very significant and rewarding because it was so difficult to put together.
Awesome. That's
Yeah,
sounds intense.
it was
Wow. And
under
then,
under a strict timeline as well.
yeah. And I'll point out that song I always felt was an awesome progression from their debut, which I love, to bringing in like that next chapter of Dru Hill. That sound was so fierce and brought them to that next level. So awesome
Yeah,
work on that one.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Next question. Is there a song you produced that you're surprised was not a single, or maybe you felt like should have been a single and could have been like a huge hit?
Yeah. Um, there was a Kelly Price song on her second album. That album's called
Mirror Mirror?
Mirror Mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the song was called Good Love.
Mm,
Good Love.
yeah.
It was an up tempo, and I think at the time Kevin Liles and the Def Jam staff, when they thought of R&B, because they were such a hip hop or they were a hip hop label for R&B. Most guys that do hip hop, that R&B, they want to hear it slow.
Yeah.
They think of ballads and stuff like that. Well, this is an up tempo, like and she rocked it out. She rocked the song well. She
Yeah.
killed it. And matter of fact, this was the song that got me on the album because I kept sending Kelly, songs and tracks, and wasn't hearing nothing back. Finally, I did this track, and I wrote on the tape, "Come on, man, this is the one." And I sent, and that's the one that got me on the album. But
Wow.
the song came out really dope, and it's funny. Like, it went on to do well. The album sold 2 million records, but
Yeah,
Kevin
yeah.
Liles said to me later, as we were making her third album, he was like, "Man, I gotta apologize to you. I definitely should have made Good Love a single." I said,
Wow.
"Thank you for telling me now."
That's wild. I mean, that's got to be frustrating, but at the same time, I want to flip it now and say, is there a single you produced or a song you produced that you're surprised did become a single? Maybe it was unexpected. Maybe you thought it might have ended up being an album cut on someone and it became a single. Is there one like that?
Definitely, there was a song I did on Missy Elliott, and it was one of these tracks I sent her, and she cut it and everything, and when it got on the album. And Craig, I was having dinner with Craig Cameron when we were at Mr. Child's. He said, "You're gonna have the single." I said, "Missy?" Yeah, but I did not. It was so much trepidation. It shook me because at that point, you know, you don't want to catch any bricks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
You want your singles to come out and do well. You don't want to do a single that's gonna fail. And so on this album, there was no Timbaland and Missy. When you think about Missy, you think Timbaland, not
yeah,
Warren Campbell, not Bangladesh, not anybody else. It's Timbaland. He's the guy,
yeah,
right? And for whatever reason, I'm not sure on this particular album. This was the album after the Under Construction album, which was like an amazing piece of work. I mean, I was actually working at the label at Elektra as a vice president of A&R during that time. So I'm like, Craig, like this
yeah,
is not good because there is no Tim and Missy single. You have not had the big up tempo, and this is
yeah.
different. Missy's singing is more of a mid tempo. They spent a lot of money on this video. She's blowing up cars and all kind of stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, none of this is going to matter because her fans want that up
Yeah.
tempo dance. If they don't have that, then they won't care about this. If she did a song like that with Timbaland or whoever that came out and did well, then this song might do well. But this out of the blue,
Yeah.
wow, man. After like all those hits she just had, I was so shocked that they picked that,
Wow.
and I was like, man, this is going to be my first brick. Now it didn't like tank, but
Yeah, yeah,
it wasn't like
wow.
and it's a good song. It's a great song. It's just kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it wasn't.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Seems stressed about it still.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, oh my. Listen, I watched something recently. I've been watching this series called They Called Me Magic with Magic Johnson.
Yeah,
Larry Bird is on there talking about when Magic Johnson beat him for the NCAA, finals
yeah,
in 1979.
yeah,
And the look on his face, he was like, it's still a very tough loss. This guy's in his 60s now.
yeah.
He's talking about it losing in college, and it's like his face got red. He's upset about it. I'm like, yeah, I understand that.
That's dope.
Totally
That's
understand
dope.
that.
All right, one more for you. Talk about an artist or mention an artist who you haven't collaborated with yet, that after all these years, somehow they've eluded you, and that's the one you need to link up with at some point and make a hit with.
It's for me, and it's not that we have not done one song together. We've worked together on, little things. Me and Mary J.
Mm, yeah,
We collaborated. I produced what's the TV show? The Voice. No, not The Voice. Oh my God, The View. The
mm,
View. So that theme song I produced, Mary singing,
yep,
Diane Warren wrote it. So we collabed there, and we did couple few things together. But I want a Mary album. I want to work. I want to produce an entire Mary J. Blige album. I know
yeah.
I would like burn that thing down. I know it would be like next level thriller, off the wall. If I could just get my hands on Mary J. for 6 months and say just me and you. Oh my God, that would be a dream.
Oh wow! I'm going to help you put this in the universe and see if we can spread the word
Hey
and get
man,
it out to Mary. That would be epic, man. We'd love to
let's
hear that.
go.